Hey, good evening. Welcome to another episode. It's Thursday. I hope you all had a great week. Tonight we're going to be doing shrimp Vera Cruz. It's probably one of my earliest recipes I ever wrote that I liked. Nowadays, I find there's a whole ton of them out there, and they're all pretty simple. I didn't post an actual recipe online because for every recipe you find, I could open 10 recipes for shrimp Vera Cruz, and you're going to find 10 different recipes. They're all slightly different. So what I'm showing you is the way I like to do it. And I hope you enjoy it, and we'll get at it. All right, we're back now. The first thing we're going to do is, well, this is what everything we're going to need tonight is I got some lemon juice for the shrimp, some olive oil. We're going to need some green olives sliced, some capers, tomatoes, green pepper, yellow pepper, jalapeno, lime, onion. And then we have our herbs, of course. I have cilantro, or you can use Italian parsley if you'd like. I also have fresh oregano, about a tablespoon, and about a teaspoon of fresh thyme. For our shrimp, I already chopped up some of the shrimp garlic, and I have a little Cajun seasoning season it with. For the main part, we'll be using fresh garlic. And we'll start out here right now by taking our shrimp and getting it set up to go. Shrimp, I want totally, not too overbearing, so we're going to put a little lemon juice in there. We're going to keep the seasoning to it pretty plain because I want it to just work with the dish instead of overpowering it or having the dish itself overpower it. So all I put there was lemon, some garlic, a little olive oil. Throw our Cajun seasoning into it. A little bit of fresh pepper. We're just going to toss that together real quick, and we're going to set that aside and let it wait. This will be the last thing we cook just before we put it onto the dish today, but this will give it a chance for the flavors to mix into the shrimp and flavor throughout. Just light toss. And then with that, we'll put that to the side and get that out of our way. All right, so this is a very simple dish. Like I said before, we have our herbs. I explained them. We're just going to take a simple bowl. We're using fresh tomatoes on this. You can use canned tomatoes if you like as well. I tend to like the fire roasted diced ones if I use them. But if you use tomatoes, drain the liquid out. Don't smash it out. You want some in there, but just drain out what you have to and get it ready to go. Take our garlic. I'm doing 3 cloves of garlic for this. I'll flatten it down a little bit, then we'll chop it up. When I first got into being a chef, I wanted a recipe that I come up with on my own, and I come up with this one. Never ever hearing of it before, and I've always liked it and stuck with it. Now, like I said, I've seen several that are almost the same. So my mom always said that she felt I probably had it as a kid somewhere and it's stuck in my mind, but I sure don't remember it. When I sat back, I thought of flavors and how they would work together, and something that would remind me of almost like an Acapulco type meal. So just going to get some garlic chopped, put that in the bowl. What we're cutting up and what we're prepping for here should feed about 4 people. And I've already taken the liberty of de-seeding the green peppers. We're just going to take that. We're just going to cut those really thin, about 1/8 of an inch, between 1/8 of an inch and a quarter. And all we want to do is we're doing simple strips. You can, if you want, you can dice them up. I used to dice them, but I tend to like the presentation of them when they're in this julienne better. I think they look a little more colorful that way, and it makes it a little harder to overcook them when you're doing it at home because it takes longer to cook the julienne than it does the diced. Like I said, all we're going to do is julienne them up. Once again, make sure you have a good sharp knife. It'll make all the difference when you're doing this. It'll get through that peel without giving you too much trouble. If you got the dull knife, going to want to slide around on you. You can also do it this way. Turn it over and just hold it and slide and just rotate it as you go. Whichever way works for you, whichever you're more comfortable with. You don't have to use yellow or red peppers in it. You can do all of it in green. I always just went with the yellow because it gave it nice, bright colors and made it look more festive and more colorful. Doesn't change the flavor any, even though yellow will be a little bit sweeter than the green would be. Take them, toss them in. Take our jalapenos. You don't have to add jalapenos. I like spicier food, and most of my family does too. So all I've done is de-seed and pull the ribs out. I'm going to put 2 in. You can put 1 in. You can skip them all together. For me, though, it's a flavor I like and an added level. I've also alternated before and used different peppers. But, like I said, I want to keep somewhat to the same flavor I like without changing it. Each pepper has a slightly different flavor to it. And this one seems to work the best. And then to add to that, you want to use about half an onion. So we're going to put that to the side. You can use the whole onion if you want. It won't really change it none. It just stocks it up a bit. I generally play it by ear, but this is a bigger onion, so I don't really have to worry too much. But as I'm looking, it's not getting quite as much as I want, so we will add some more. I want to try and keep it about the same amount as there is of peppers. Once I do that, simplify, we'll break that up a little, get them separated. I mean, they'll separate when they cook, but if you do it like before, they're going to start to cook a little quicker, so we can keep it done sooner. Throw that right into our mix there. Then we're going to move on to our tomatoes. What I'm going to do is I use a nice ripe Roma tomato for this. Like I said, you can use the canned tomatoes if you want. Really won't change it much. Just make sure you get ones that are a little less salt. All I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these down into about 1/4 to 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch dice. Just throw the sides off. Easiest way to do that, get rid of those edges like I just did. And I'll just turn them. They're nice, even, uniform pieces. Take your time, don't rush. You don't want to get yourself cut or hurt doing this. This is a nice quick meal too. Prep time takes you about 10 to 15 minutes. The actual cook time will take you about 10 minutes. So you can do this meal at home in about a half hour plus the rice. Waiting on the rice, depending on how you cook it. Rice usually takes about 20 to 25 minutes. So if you time it right, you can do it right when you get home and be eaten within the hour. I only put about 4 tomatoes for that whole amount, but if they're smaller tomatoes or bigger tomatoes, you can adjust that as you want or as you need. I find for what I'm making on this size batch, 4 Romas, good size ones is all it takes. Get that edge of the skin off. Got a little piece wanting to move around on me there. And when you scoop these up, as you notice, I'm trying to get the liquid too. You actually want the liquid in this, because you don't want this dry, or your rice that you're going to serve it on is going to be dry. And I took the liberty of already getting the rice going, so when we're done, the rice is ready. One more. Just a little bit here. That's our tomato. Throw that all in, get as much of that liquid as I can get up. Now we're going to take ourselves some limes. 2 to 3 limes, depending on the size and how much juice you have with them. Give them a cut in half. Put your little X into the center. Now, one of the ingredients I chose not to put in is wine. I've done it with wine before. I've done it without. I tend to find it changes the flavor a lot. So if you do wine, just put a small amount of white wine. Luckily, these are seedless limes, so we're just going to squeeze them in. I don't have to try and get them strained. Thing. One more. I'll take that bowl there, and we're going to toss all our garbage up into it. Now we'll pull this out and add to that a little olive oil right into it. About 1/8 of a cup. What we're doing now is adding some moisture in. Let me dry my hand here, so I know it's going to fight me. I'm going to put about 1/8 of a teaspoon of fresh ground black pepper in. Play it by ear. You can adjust that also to your own liking. I only want to put a little bit of salt because what we're going to put in yet is going to add some more salt to it. We don't want it salty. Going to add our fresh oregano, like I said, about a little under a tablespoon. About a teaspoon of fresh thyme. I want to put about another tablespoon of cilantro in. And go to our secrets. These are capers. I think we've worked with those before, and I told you, like I said, they are a pickled blossom from a flower. I'll put in about 2 to 3 teaspoons of the caper. Then we'll go into our sliced green olives. And these you can adjust however much you want. I kind of like them, so I'm going to put in probably the equivalent of about 4 tablespoons worth. Now here's my secret. I add at least a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of the brine. And that will take the flavor to a new level. Mix that up. Those flavors mix through there a bit. Don't have to really go nuts mixing it because it's going to be cooking and mixing together, but we just want to spread it out a bit, get a little on everything before we put it into the pan. Now we got that mix. We're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes so it'll sweat a little and get a little more mixture or a little more moisture put into the batch. And with that, we'll be back to show you how to cook it in 10. Back here, we're going to cook that. It's sat for about 10 minutes, and we've got for it to sweat. We're going to turn our burner on high with our pan up. Of olive oil into the bottom. Don't need a ton, just enough to coat the bottom. We've already added some to the shrimp itself. We just spread that around a little, coat it. Let the pan get good and hot. Like I said, this whole dish from start to finish takes about 30 minutes. We're stretching it out a little bit. We gave it time to sit and sweat. But now the pan getting warm. All of that, we're going to dump our mixture right into that pan. Get everything we can out of it, especially the liquids. Now we're just going to start cooking her down. When you first get it going, just get everything spread out. You don't want to move it too much because it'll cool on you. We're going to cook this first, and then we'll cook the shrimp at the last second when this is almost done, and we'll add it in at the very end on top of it. Also, when this starts out, it's easiest to use two and just sort of pull the bottom up to move things around too much and cool that pan. You want to keep it good and hot. You can see, oh, it's got a nice smell going already. I can smell the onions and garlic. Smell the oregano cooking into it. Like I said, you can add, at this point, if you wanted, you could add a dash of white wine, maybe a quarter cup, or red wine. I've done it with both. I prefer white. It doesn't overpower it. The red tends to make it taste too much like a pasta type of a dish. But as you can see, letting it sweat, look at all that liquid in the bottom. I got a good amount of liquid to spread throughout. And that's what's going to keep our rice from being dry underneath it. This is the one recipe that when one of the reporters interviewed me in Toronto wanted a recipe, and this is the one I gave him. Needless to say, I left out one ingredient so nobody could make it exactly the way I do. However, for your sake, I've told you exactly how I do it. So you can sit at home and replicate this. And like I said, you can can alter this dish how you want. Pull up 10 recipes for shrimp Vera Cruz, and you're going to find 10 variations of it. Nobody seems to cook it exactly the same. Everybody changes it to their own personal liking. Getting good and hot. And what we want to do is cook this till our vegetables start to get translucent. We don't want to overcook them. We want to keep these nice vibrant colors, but we also want them to be a little bit softened. And you can see, like, the ones in the bottom are already starting to get translucent. And make sure we rotate them out good. Meanwhile, those tomatoes will be giving off a little more moisture and spreading that flavor throughout. Between the tomatoes, the lime, and the green olives, this thing has a beautiful flavor, a lot of contrasting flavors, very complex, but easy to do. I've run this in a few of my restaurants, and it always is a big seller. Get my caffeine in. Look at that, beautiful colors, beautiful colors. You can smell the citrus, you can smell the garlic. I'm starting to get some of those tomatoes rotated around better because I don't want them to totally turn to mush. I do want them cooked, I just don't want them to turn to mush. That's why I rotate a lot just for that purpose. And these are getting close. As they get closer and closer, we're going to start heating up to get our shrimp ready to go. Once again, same thing. We're going to get the stovetop turned on. We're going to get it up to a nice high setting. Get our pan good and hot. Make sure before you do anything with your shrimp, I should have mentioned before, I usually dry mine, drain them well, get rid of all the excess water and that from them, and then season them. It'll give you a better flavor. And it'll also cook nicer because now they're not cooking in the water, they're cooking in their own flavors of everything you put in. Look at that, lots of liquid going. Beautiful. The pan's hot enough yet, almost. This is getting here. I don't want to overdo this, so I'm going to turn this down and let it just simmer along a bit. And keep it hot without overcooking it. With that, actually, let's keep this nice and easy for you. We're going to turn that back up. I'll move my shrimp to the other side so you can see better what we're doing. Oh, that's about right. Pan good and hot. Wipe off the tomato where it gets spilled. Just a dash of olive oil into here because we already put a bunch in with our shrimp to give it its flavor. And our pan really hot, almost smoking. The shrimp only take about 1.5 minutes to cook. Spread that oil around. That's got good heat. And just put that in. Drop our shrimp right in. Just rinse that real quick. Flip them around. Get them nice and cooked without overcooking them. Look at this, already turning nice and pink. You can see all that garlic on it. Nice and spread out, keep them even. Make sure you flip the shrimp so they each get a chance to cook. Keep that going good. There, come on. Almost ready. Getting close. A little bit of water coming off of them from the sweating as they cook. Shrimp was one of my mom's favorite foods. Shrimp, lobster. Let's make sure everything's turned over and everything good and even. Don't want to miss none. I want to make sure they're all cooked all the way through. Most seafood like shrimp, squid, calamari, octopi, there's a lot of rule of thumb on them. It's in for a minute, in for an hour. You either want to quick cook them or stew them for an hour. Otherwise, they get tough. These are looking beautiful right now. Almost all the way through. I've got a couple here yet. Get them down into there. Make sure everything's cooked through. Look at that nice pink color to them. Pink and orange. Those are looking beautiful. With that, give them one more toss. Spread that sauce over them. Let's see, one is all I got. Put him back over. He should be done in about 10 seconds. With that, we'll turn that off. And we're going to get ready to plate here. So bear with me 1 second. All right, so we're back and we're going to plate it real quick. I'm just taking and making a bowl of rice there with a well in the center. And we're just going to get some of our pepper and onion mix. We're just going to put that right into that well. As much as you want, make sure you get some of that liquid that we were watching cook down into it. So you don't want everything too dry. Put that into there. And now, bring our shrimp over. We're just going to put 6 to 8, depending on what you want. Restaurants tend to do 6. I think that's a little skimpy, so we're going to put 8 on here. You don't have to dress them up all this way, making it all this fancy. I'm just making it look nice. And these may not fit 8. There's 6 right there, so we'll slide things around a little to fit them. This is just to make it look pretty. We'll put 1 in the center. And likewise with this sauce, we'll also put a little bit into the rice. Not a lot, because we want the other. Put that to the side. And get a little sprinkle of our fresh cilantro on there. And there you have it, Shrimp Vera Cruz. Enjoy. I hope you like it. Let me know. Right back, text us. If you have ideas for recipes, let us know. We're happy to always looking for some good ideas. And with that, you have a great night. We'll see you next week.